Hans has good luck. Some men are born with good luck. Everything ellos do goes well, and everything ellos get is a win. Even their common things seem special, and ellos always win at games. No matter what happens to them, ellos always land on their feet like a cat and keep moving forward even faster. Other people might not think these men are as great as ellos think ellos are, but these lucky men do not care what el world thinks. What can other people really know about ello? A man named Hans was one of these lucky people. Él had worked very hard for his master for 7 long years. Finally, él said, "Master, my work time is finished. I must go home to see my mother again. Please pay me my money and let me go." El master said, "Hans, you have been a good and honest worker, so I will give you a very large amount of pay." Then él gave Hans a piece of silver that was as big as his head. Hans took out a cloth, put la silver inside él, and carried-la over his shoulder as él started walking toward his home. As él walked slowly along, a man appeared who was riding happily on a very good horse. Hans said out loud, "Oh, it is a wonderful thing to ride a horse." El rider sits there as happy as if él wearing a chair at home. Él does not hit his feet against stones, él saves his shoes, and él moves forward very easily. El rider heard what Hans said and asked, "Well, friend, why are you walking then?" Hans answered, "I have to carry this heavy load. It is silver, but it is so heavy that I cannot hold my head up, and it makes my shoulder hurt very much." El rider said, "How about we trade? I will give you my horse, and you will give me your silver. This will stop your trouble of carrying that heavy weight." Hans said, "I would love to do that, but because you are being so kind, I must tell you that it will be very hard for you to carry that heavy silver." El rider got off el horse, took la silver, and helped Hans get up. Él put las ropes in one of Hans's hands and a whip in la other, and said, "When you want to go fast, make a loud sound with your lips and shout, 'Jeep!'" Hans was very happy as él sat on el horse. Él sat up straight, moved his arms and feet into place, used his whip, and rode away feeling joyful, whistling and singing as él went. "I have no worries and no sadness, and I do not care about tomorrow. We will laugh and be happy, and we will sing a happy song." After a while, él wanted to go a little faster, so él made a sound with his mouth and shouted, "Go!" El horse started to run very fast. Before Hans knew what was happening, él was thrown off and landed on his back by the side of el road. His horse would have run away if a man who was moving a cow had not stopped it. Hans soon felt better and stood up, but él was very angry and said to the man, "Riding is not fun when a man gets a horse like this that trips and throws him off as if it wanted to break his neck. I am finished with riding now. I like your cow much more than this horse that played a trick on me and ruined my best coat in this smelly mud. A person can walk slowly behind a cow, have a good friend to walk with, and get milk, butter, and cheese every day as well. I would give anything to have such a wonderful thing." "Well," said el man with the cow, "if you like Ella so much, I will trade my cow for your horse. I like to help my neighbors, even if it is not a good deal for me." "It is a deal," said Hans happily. "That man has such a kind heart," él thought. Then el man jumped onto el horse, said goodbye to Hans and la cow, and rode away. Hans cleaned his coat, wiped his face and hands, rested for a short time, and then walked away quietly with his cow, thinking he had made a very good trade. "If I have only a piece of bread, I can eat my butter and cheese with él, and when I am thirsty, I can get milk from my cow to drink. What more could I want?" When él came to a small hotel, él stopped, ate all of his bread, and spent his last bit of money on a glass of beer. When él had finished resting, él started walking again, moving his cow toward the village where his mother lived. but it became much hotter at noon, and as El walked across a large field with no trees, El became so hot and thirsty that his mouth felt very dry. El thought, I can fix this. I will milk my cow now and drink. So El tied la to an old tree and held his leather hat to catch la milk, but no milk came out. Who would have guessed that this cow which El thought would give Ella milk, butter and cheese, was actually unable to give Ella any milk at all? Hans had not thought about checking that. While El was trying to milk Ella very clumsily, the animal became annoyed and kicked Ella hard on the head. El fell down and stayed there for a long time, unable to move or think. Luckily, a man who sells meat soon walked by pushing a pig in a cart. "What is wrong with you, my friend?" the man asked as El helped Hans stand up. Hans told Ella what happened.
Él said él was thirsty y trató de milk la cow, pero la cow had no milk. Then el man gave Le some beer y said, "Drink this to feel better. Your cow will never give milk because ella is too old. Ella is only good for meat now." "Oh no," said Hans, "I did not know that. It is a bad thing that I gave away my horse for a cow that has no milk. If I kill her, what good will she be to me? I do not like cow meat. It is too hard for me to eat. If I had a pig like that fat one in your cart, I could do something with Elle. At least I could make sausages." "Well," said el man, "I want to be a good neighbor and help you. To make you happy, I will trade with you. I will give you my fat pig for your cow." "May you be rewarded for being so kind," said Hans. Él gave la cow to the man, took el pig de el cart, and walked away pulling el pig by a string on its leg. Él walked along happily, feeling that everything was going well. Él had some problems before, but now él felt él had been paid back with good things. Él felt everything must be fine now that él had such a good animal traveling with él. La next person he met was a man from the country carrying a beautiful white goose. El man stopped to ask what time it was, and ellos began to talk. Hans told him about his good luck and how happy él was with all his trades. El man then told his own story and said él was taking la goose to a special party for a new baby. "Feel how heavy it is," el man said, "even though it is only 8 weeks old. Whoever cooks and eats this goose will find it has much fat because él has lived a very good life." "You are right," said Hans, as él felt el weight in his hand. "But if you are talking about fat, my pig is also very big." Then el man from the country began to look serious and shook his head. "Listen to me," él said, "my good friend, you seem like a nice person, so I want to help you. Your pig might get you into big trouble. In el village I just left, a rich man had a pig stolen de his farm. When I saw you, I was very afraid that you had el stolen pig. If you have lo, and ellos catch you, things will go very badly for you. At the very least, ellos will throw you into el deep water where the horses drink. Do you know how to swim?" Poor Hans became very afraid. "Good man," he cried, "please help me get out of this trouble. I do not know where this pig came from, and él might belong to that rich man. You know this place better than I do, so take my pig and give me your goose." "I should get something extra in this trade," said el man. "Giving a fat goose for a pig is a big thing. Not many people would do such a kind thing for you, but I will not be difficult with you, because I see you are in trouble." Then el man took the rope and led el pig away on a small path, while Hans walked toward his home with no more worries. After all, él thought, "I have tricked that man. I do not care who owned el pig before, because él has been a very good friend to me. I got much more than I gave in this trade. First I will cook a great meal, then I will use the fat for cooking for 6 months, and then I will have all the beautiful white feathers. I will put the feathers into my pillow, and then I am sure I will sleep very well without needing to be moved. My mother will be so happy. A pig is nothing compared to this. I would much rather have a big fat goose." When él arrived at the next village, he saw a man sharpening scissors with a wheel, working and singing. "Over hills and over valleys I travel happily. My work is easy and I live well. El whole world is my home. Who could be as happy and joyful as I am?" Hans stood and watched for a while and finally said, "You must be doing very well, Master Grinder. You look so happy while you work. Yes, said el man, my job is worth a lot of gold. A good grinder always finds money in his pocket, but where did you get that beautiful goose? I did not buylo, I traded él for a pig. And where did you get él? I traded a cow for it. En la cow, I traded a horse for it. And the horse, I traded a piece of silver as big as my head. And the silver, oh, I worked hard for 7 long years to get that. You have done very well in life so far, said el grinder. Now if you could find money in your pocket every time you look for it, you would be a rich man. That is very true, but how can I do that? How? Well, you must become a knife sharpener like me, said the other man. You only need a sharpening stone. Everything else will happen easily. Here is a stone that is almost new. I will give it to you if you give me your goose. Do you want to buylo? Of course I do, said Hans. I would be the happiest man in the world if I had money every time I put my hand in my pocket. What more could I want? Here is the goose. Now, said el man, as él gave Hans a common rough stone that was lying near him, this is a very good stone.
If you use la well, you can even make an old nail sharp enough to cut. Hans took la stone and walked away feeling very happy. His eyes were bright with joy, and él said to himself, I must be a very lucky man. Everything I want or wish for comes to me easily. People are so kind. Ellos seem to think I am doing les a favor by letting them make me rich and giving me such good deals. After a while, él began to feel tired and hungry because él had given away his last bit of money when él was happy to get la cow. At last, él could not walk any further because la stone was very heavy and made him tired. Él pulled himself to the side the river to drink some water and rest for a while. Él put la stone carefully beside him on the ground, but as él bent down to drink, él forgot la stone was there and pushed la a little. Ella rolled down and fell into the water. For a moment, él watched la sink into the deep, clear water. Then él jumped up and danced with joy. Él knelt down with tears in his eyes and thanked Dios for being kind and taking away la heavy, ugly stone that was his only trouble. I am so happy, él cried. No one has ever been as lucky as I am. Then, él stood up feeling light and free of all his problems. Él walked until él reached the mother's house and told her how very easy it was to find good luck.